All right, we are back for the Delusional Fan with Geraghty and McCloud, Chris Geraghty, Ryan McCloud. Having a good show today. Talked about free agency.
Things are going.
Losing Derrick Rose, gaining Rondo and Dwayne Wade. Kevin Durant going nuts, UFC 200. Big week in sports, man.
Absolutely.
And I actually, even though I said I was happy we were done with basketball, now that I know Dwayne Wade might be putting on a Bulls jersey.
Yep.
That's pretty exciting. I like it.
That's right, man.
I just hope he can stay healthy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's everybody's hope at this point.
I don't want another Derrick
year
Rose
like
thing,
last year. Yeah, absolutely.
Top 5 time. Last week's top 5 was good. This week's top 5 is going to be good too. What we decided to do for the top 5, because we were talking about free agency and how league changing, franchise changing for 2 franchises the Durant trade was, because obviously OKC is not going to be what they were, and now Golden State is a super team. We wanted to do basically team or league changing trades or free agent signings through the 4 majors, basically. So that's what we're going to do. So I will go first on this one because I always make Rag go first because I like to. I like to do my stuff second so it lasts with people longer because I'm smarter than Ryan.
Sure.
All right. Sure. So my number 5 is going to be Deion Sanders. 2 teams, San Francisco and the Dallas Cowboys, 94 and 95. Basically rent the greatest defensive back in the history of the National Football League, and you win 2 Super Bowls doing it.
Everywhere he went, man. They won.
Not everywhere. They never won with the Falcons, but
I'm just saying when he left the Falcons.
When he left the Falcons, it was huge. So that to me
was good everywhere.
That to me, I really love that one as my number 5 because I am such a Deion Sanders guy. I don't think as great as Revis is, as great as Woodson is. Mm-hmm. Neither of them are Deion Sanders. I think he's just the greatest ever was.
The greatest shutdown corner, yes, ever.
Ever.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's my number 5. Number 4, I have as John Elway being traded to the Broncos.
Okay.
Drafted by the Colts. Jim Irsay, not Jim Irsay's father actually was in control of the team, but Eddie Accorsi.
Like Eli Manning situation.
Very similar, right? Yeah. So the Irsay family still owned the team at the time. It was actually Jim's father. But Eddie Accorsi was the general manager of the team and wanted Elway. Elway and his father both said, "Listen, we don't want to play in Indy. We know you. We know you're the first pick, or Baltimore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Baltimore,
we don't want to play in Baltimore. So don't pick me. If you pick me, I'm going to go play for the New York Yankees." And there's a great story of John Elway's agent going and sitting down with Steinbrenner, and Steinbrenner had his projected team up for next year and had John Elway starting. Right. So it's a pretty cool story. So what happened is, of course, he's like, screw it, I'm drafting him anyway. He's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen coming out of college. John Elway said, fine, I'm going to go play baseball. Then, when they could have gotten so much more for that pick before the draft, they ended up trading for John Elway. Now, they got a good player in Chris Hinton, who was also the number one pick for Denver, and who ended up actually starting and playing a lot of years, but remember, he was traded for John Elway. John Elway obviously goes to the Broncos, gets him in 5 Super Bowls and wins 2. Right. Yeah, Hall of Fame career. So
Top
John Elway,
ever, probably. Right.
Yeah, John Elway to me that was big time.
That is big.
That is big time. Number 3, the Herschel Walker trade.
Okay.
The great trade robbery.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, of course. See, and I'll get into mine. I thought this was only free agency moves, so I didn't know this was just including trades. Mine's just free agency, and that's okay. I still stick with mine. That's fine.
Well, Deion was free agency. Walker was a trade. Elway was a trade.
Yeah.
So with Herschel, obviously, it's what it was.
I know. That's what it's touted as. Yeah.
So what Jimmy Johnson was so smart. He got a bunch of players, but the provision he put in that trade is if I don't keep those players, I want draft picks that coincide. And he ended up
built a dynasty.
A dynasty.
That built a dynasty. That trade alone. And so that would have been on my list. Absolutely. Yes.
So Herschel Walker was my number 3. My number 2, and I debated really between my number 2 and my number 1. I'm still kind of debating because I'm staring at them both here. I think I have to do it for the amount of championships. Number 2, Babe Ruth to the Yankees for $125,000.
You're saying what they got for the amount, or
the Yankees paid $125,000, and also
back then was a ton of money.
It was a ton of money, but Ruth played 6 seasons with the Red Sox. They had 3 World Series victories with him leading the team.
Yikes.
He pitched 29 2/3 scoreless innings in the World Series for them. That was a record that stood for 43 years. He had, he had 114 runs batted in, 100 and 103 runs himself. And he played more than 100 games out in left field. I mean,
he was incredible. Yeah.
He was the best. He's still probably the best player there ever was in baseball, in my opinion. Next, maybe Barry Bonds, and they didn't get any players for him. They didn't get any draft picks for him. $125,000.
Idiots. Curse the Bambino.
Right. It was the stupidest thing they could have ever done is get rid of him.
Absolutely.
So there's my number 2. My number 3. Yeah, I think you'll appreciate this because this is more to your sport here. Bill Russell, 65.
Okay.
Bill Russell got drafted by St. Louis. St. Louis selected him with the number 2 overall pick. They traded the number 2 overall pick in exchange for then some guy named Cliff Halen, some other guy named Ed McCauley, and a 7th overall pick. And the Celtics got Bill Russell. And went on. Bill Russell was a 12-time All-Star.
Yeah.
He has, how many championships did he win?
11.
11 NBA championships, 5 MVPs, and is probably considered the number 1 or number 2 big man by most people.
Yeah.
From that era.
Look, you judge on rings, he's the 1 overall ever. So
right. So that's my top 5. So Bill Russell, Babe Ruth, Herschel Walker, John Elway, Deion Sanders.
All right. I like it.
Yeah?
Yes. It was, you, again, and this isn't necessarily, this isn't your fault. I didn't realize we were including trades. I should have specified that. So mine are just free agency moves. Mine are just teams that got these players off free agency, and we broke our streak, I hate to say.
Oh, we do have one thing.
We have only one, though, so that's not
good.
bad.
All right, go ahead.
So starting with number 5, and my criteria was pretty simple. Individual play and the impact it had on the actual team.
Okay. And also the team that this person probably left too, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Number 5, LeBron to Miami.
Okay.
And for obvious reasons,
I thought about that one.
And if nothing else, this is the most talked about, most polarizing, most hated free agency move of all time.
Of this generation. Until now, Kevin Durant. Maybe.
Right. And I still think because was a trendsetter in this move, Durant will never be hated on as much as, even with him going to Golden State, as much as LeBron.
I agree.
Look, they went to 4 straight championships. They won 2 straight. This helped shape the movement that we see today with Durant. So just a lot of impact overall on the league, on the team. Obviously, it had an effect on Cleveland.
Yep.
Burning jerseys, whatnot. Just a very big free agency move, and obviously impacted Miami greatly. So number 4 is where we had one together here. Deion, 2, and I have listed 2 anywhere. Obviously, we'll take the Niners and the Cowboys in on this. Dude, he was so good. Like we went over, he's probably the best ever. I don't even think I need to say probably. He's, I think, personally the best defensive back ever. He legitimized the defense by himself on both those teams. So
I agree.
Felt like everywhere he went, they won. So number 3, switching back to basketball here. And again, I feel like mine are kind of obvious, but Shaq to LA. It was controversial, the exit that he had from Orlando, so that makes it memorable. And again, what you said,
a free agent.
What you said too, yes, these are all free agency moves. So he was a free agent. There was the controversy between, there was reports that this is Penny's team now, and Shaq's going to kind of take the back burner. And so he bolted, and it resulted in 4 straight championship, 4 straight finals, 3 straight wins in those finals.
Yep.
And dude, it was perfect timing. I mean, for him to go to LA and just perfectly into Kobe, the Kobe era.
Playing with one of the most dynamic young players.
Restarting the Penny Shaq era only better.
Yeah.
And then obviously everything that they did there with Phil making that team.
And don't forget, add on to that, since similar to Dion, same thing, then him going to Miami and winning one with
winning a championship. Yes, absolutely. Right. He was one of those guys, for sure. He was one of those guys. Number two is, and number one are where, and I think you know this, especially with it being all free agency for me, where this is going. I'm going to homer it up a little bit and delusionalize it a little bit here. But, and I don't think they're that bad. Number two, Charles Woodson to Green Bay.
That was a big signing.
Dude, I mean, again, instrumental in, it was instrumental in getting Green Bay a championship.
But only one.
He only, again, that's where my number one will go to as well. But for the first time, I think what's interesting about that one was for the first time in Chuck's career, he actually became a vocal leader, right? Like he went to Pro Bowls in Oakland. He had his best years in Green Bay. He won a Defensive Player of the Year in Green Bay.
Yep.
Helped win that championship in Green Bay. But he became that vocal leader. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the clips of the president's speech that he did. I mean, that was like engraved in the ring and stuff, or whatever. His speech is engraved in the ring. So awesome.
Isn't that after he got hurt, right?
There's something about inside the ring. I believe it's about the 4 quarters or whatever. It's like there's 4 quarters left or something to that effect. But he had that president's speech about Obama not wanting to come see them. I'm just saying overall, vocally.
Didn't he get hurt in the Super Bowl?
He did. Yeah, absolutely.
And didn't end up playing the entire second half, right?
Right.
Or 3 quarters.
No, it happened right at the end of the first half. He broke his collarbone and ended up. So, and again, I'm not taking.
I heard there was a speech he gave.
Yes, he did give, and I don't think a lot of details have been released about that speech. I know Aaron has been quoted saying like, dude, we're going to rally around you and win this for you. So that honestly may have helped them even more than you would think. But at any rate, number one, sticking with them, man. And this probably is, I think you might agree that this is one of the biggest free agency moves in NFL history was Reggie White to Green Bay.
At the time it was.
It was like the biggest at the time.
Especially going from a market like Philly with rabid, crazy fans to Green Bay.
Well, no, and nobody was going to Green Bay. Nobody wanted to go there, and you know. And that ended up being one of the. I would say for obvious reasons, but there was nobody wanted to go play there, and they were coming off a decade or 2 decades of mediocrity and losing, and they just got Brett Favre, and things just clicked, and he was able to bring us back to the winning culture that we had always known.
I put that '96 team top 10, like. Overall, as a team, probably top 10 in NFL history.
And that's you've always been decent with saying that and saying that number one overall offense and defense. But I mean, look, along with Favre, Holmgren, and Ron Wolf, I mean, they brought them back to prominence, and that's the reason Ron Wolf's in the Hall of Fame.
So now
because of Reggie White and Green Bay.
Now let me get disparaging a little bit about your 1 and 2.
Sure.
Those 2 signings, as big as they were, and as great as those players were. Still only resulted in one Super Bowl piece.
And again, I'm 100% okay with that. We can talk all day about should they have been a dynasty or not. If they win those 2 in a row, they are a dynasty. So that can go in our top 5 what ifs. It doesn't change the fact that it won us 2 Super Bowls. I'm okay with if they didn't win us any, they wouldn't be on my list.
It would drive me nuts to be a Packer fan.
But see, it would drive me nuts
to know your team is good enough to win,
right?
But don't.
No, and absolutely. But it would drive me nuts to be and I'm truly not just singling you out because you said that. I'm saying it would drive me nuts to be a Bears fan and say things like, "Aren't you upset that you only got 1? How could you even say that when you only have 1 ever?" It brought us a championship. I'll hold that dearly forever, man.
Oh no, I'm not saying I'm not a frustrated Bear fan. Of course, I am.
No, and I know that. I'm just saying it. 1 is more than none. I can't explain anything else. You know what I mean?
No, and I'm not saying the 1 is more than none, but when you have a team that's good enough to win and they just keep fucking it up, I don't know, man. That would drive me nuts too. I think I would be in worse shape with teams that should win that don't instead of teams that just are bad.
I would say this. It's hard I guess it's like this, man. Since 92 or 93. We've had our down years, right? We've had a couple of down years. Yeah. But besides that, they've been successful and gone to the playoffs and won division champ. I would take as frustrating, and I do agree it's frustrating, as frustrating as it is, I would take that over being a Bengal or a Bear or a Lion or a Jaguar or 98% of the league. I would still take that over anybody, minus the Patriots, right?
Well, okay, let me flip the script on you. You're a Cub fan.
Yeah.
Would you rather be a Yankee fan?
Well, of course.
Why?
In terms of winning in championships, yes, of course.
No, because you get to a point where it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if the Yankees win anymore. But I'll tell you this, the Cubs win the World Series this year. Of course. It's going to be the most celebrated championship in American sports.
And I could never disagree with that. I would never disagree with that. I will be as ecstatic as you when that happens. I will.
The joy we will
But you're asking me, would you rather be the winningest team of all time, or would you rather be kind of average and maybe not win for 100+ years? I would take winning 28, 30 championships, whatever they have.
I'll take the joy of winning this year with the Cubs than just being like, meh, I'm a Yankee fan.
Chris, this almost goes to like the people who are getting upset with Durant, because if it was your team, you would not be saying this if the Cubs were the Yankees. If the Cubs had been they're known for winning and they have the most championships out of anybody, you would never apologize for it. Ever.
You give me shit about being a Bear fan for that reason, but the Bears have the second richest history of championships in the entire NFL.
Yes.
But you're like, oh, I'd be frustrated as a Bear fan.
Yes.
They've won the second most championships in the history of the NFL.
But I guess what it comes down to...
They have the most wins overall of any team in the NFL.
Sure.
They have the most Hall of Famers of any team in the NFL.
Sure.
So,
I'm not saying they don't have a rich history. I've never said that. I'm saying... All I can say to that, Chris, and why maybe you take it that way is there's a reason when they say stats on ESPN, they say in the Super Bowl era. Okay? And I'm sorry that we won the first two and that's the earliest as you can possibly get, but we have 4. You guys have 1. That's I can't agree or understand why you would bring up something like they only got 1.
But that's
they only got
always
1 championship.
what Green Bay fans say, as we have 4. But you should have 6, 7, 8.
Yes, okay, maybe we should. No, we could have had 6 or 7 or 8.
No, you should have.
We didn't win.
Right.
I get right, and Chris, I can say that about you guys. You guys could have had 2 or 3 or 4.
Right.
I don't know where.
And that upsets me.
And it upsets me too. I'm just not saying, I'm not going to call it a failure or ever look at it and go,
it's a failure.
I'm going to downgrade Reggie White because we only had 1. If he got us none, I would never have him on this list. He certainly wouldn't be number 1. They got us 1. I'm going to hold him dearly for that, man. I hold him up here. He's on the top of the list.
My number 1 had 11 championships.
Yeah, right. In an era where I won't go there. Never mind.
11 championships.
Sure. Yep. I'm not going to play the era card, but sure.
Babe Ruth won a few World Series too.
Yep.
John Elway won a few championships.
Well, I mean,
Deion Sanders won a few championships.
2. And LeBron has 3 and 1, 2 with mine, and so
and yet you have LeBron underneath.
And Shaq, because it's not. I told you I was going Homer. I told you I was going delusional. All right.
You are delusional.
That's fine. Somebody's got to be if we're gonna call it.
All right. When we come back, we are both getting more delusional than we have been in the past, as we are going to give you our predictions. Sure to go wrong for the 2016-2017 NFL season, which is not getting here fast enough.
No, I agree.
So I can slap you around.
Yeah, sure.
Every day talking about crap hole Packers. We'll be right back with predictions sure to go wrong.
Rest in peace, Reggie White.